When people think of Chris Eubank versus Nigel Benn, most would think of rivalry, brutality, and hatred. So many have the exact same expectations when their sons Chris Eubank Jr and Conor Benn meet on the 26th of April at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But I believe we may see a different story play out. Like pro wrestling, boxing is at its best when there is a great story, and there is potential for one here. Let's start with Chris Eubank Jr. It's been a tough number of years for Eubank following the tragic loss of his brother Sebastian. This devastation further strained the relationship between Junior and Senior as his father struggled with the loss. Eubank had already decided to attack his career without his father's direct involvement a few years earlier. Add to this the PED situation with Conor Benn in 2022 and the subsequent TKO defeat to Liam Smith, and Eubank's world seemed to be crashing down. However, Eubank would show immense character to battle back from this, as he would defeat Smith in a career-best performance in the rematch. However, more turmoil would follow with his promotional situation, preventing Eubank from fighting again for over a year before defeating Kamel Zarameta in October of 2024. In an interview with Piers Morgan, Conor Benn said he hoped Eubank Sr would be there on the night, in a genuine moment. However, Eubank could not accept the genuine sentiment, perhaps understandably. Tragically, both families know what it is like to see someone never be the same again due to a fight, referring to Michael Watson and Gerald McKenna. So the fact that Benn had PEDs in his system rightfully outrages Eubank, as boxing is already dangerous enough. However, this period hasn't been easy for Benn either. Following the collapse of the fight the first time round, Benn's name has been dragged through the mud. Undoubtedly, this pushed Benn to the edge mentally, and Benn still maintains that he didn't knowingly take PEDs. Call me naive, but I believe him. I think Conor is a genuine guy, so that's the crazy thing about this fight. You can have sympathy for both of them, and in their own way, they're both kind of right. Regarding the fight itself, it could well be as intense as the story surrounding it. Benn is still only 28 years old, so near his physical prime, and known to be an explosive puncher. Eubank is now 35, and has shown recently that his punch resistance may be decreasing, which I believe may be down to the amount of weight he has to cut to reach 160 pounds. However, the fact remains that Benn is a welterweight, and Eubank has much more experience at a much higher level. I do believe Eubank wins this fight. However, the real story for me will be after the fight. I do not believe we will see a rematch due to the weight difference. For this reason, and call me crazy, but I believe we could see a handshake between the two. There is potential for a beautiful moment after this, should Chris Eubank be present, with the two reconciling in the ring. I believe this would be a perfect ending to close the book on the story of Eubank vs Benn. Eubank vs Benn will also feature an undercard stuffed with British talent, starting with Vidal vs Chevon for the British Cruiserweight Championship. Personally, I think this is criminally underhyped. It's a shame that the Isaac Chamberlain fight has fallen through for Vidal. However, he's already English champion and will be taking on the British champion in Clark. Riley is a Tottenham fan, so this is a massive opportunity for him to fight at the stadium, and at only 27, I think there's big things for him on the way as he heads towards the top of the Cruiserweight division, and I think he'll come through this fight. Next up is Chris Billam Smith versus the American Brandon Glanton. Smith is coming off the back of his second career defeat to Zurdo Ramirez out in Saudi Arabia at the back end of last year. Likewise, Glanton has 2 defeats on his record, although both are quite controversial. A good performance will be expected for CBS if he wants to get his name back to the top of the Cruiserweight division and hopefully set up a clash versus Badou Jack, who's the WBC champion, although it's my opinion that Jack really won't want to fight CBS at this stage of his career. Either way, a good win here will get his name right back into the mix. Then we have a real crossroads fight with Liam Smith versus Aaron McKenna. With Liam Smith at 36, the question will be how much does he have left? And the question will be the exact opposite for Aaron McKenna, who's only 25 and 19-0. Could this one be too early for him? I think it might be. I'm just going to lean towards Liam Smith's experience on this occasion. However, it should be a great fight. And then finally we have the trilogy between Anthony Yarde and Lyndon Arthur. The two are one apiece, however I think Yarde will be a significant favourite for this one, without writing off Lyndon Arthur too much. I think Yarde will be very frustrated at the moment, with promotional disputes having stalled his career since the impressive performance, but admittedly a defeat to Artur Beterbiev. He'll be looking to make a statement, like CBS will be earlier in the night. with a victory to put his name back in the mix with the top British names in the division, including Callum Smith and Joshua Buatsi. Either way, it should be a fantastic night for British boxing on April 26th at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all again soon.